Hello everyone, it's Lindsay, and today I'm back with another process for you guys using the Worry to Worship kit from Creative Retreat Kits. So I will have this link down below as well as my unboxing if you want to see everything that comes in the kit. Now earlier in the month I did go ahead and do a layout in my growth book where I can take notes and respond to the reflection questions, and I had mentioned these florals and I ended up not using them, so I wanted to show you how to make these and use these today. And I settled on the verses Philippians 4:6-7, which say, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Now, I definitely wanted to do some prayer journaling. We know there is so much heaviness in the news around the world right now. And as I went through all of my journaling Bibles, I've actually journaled in this part of Philippians in all of my journaling Bibles, but I still wanted to do some prayer journaling. So I'm going to be doing a FaithDex card. I had done a few of these last year. I was creating FaithDex cards where I could do prayers on them. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that for this. The prayer journaling will be private, but I wanted to kind of show you how I do the florals, how I do the front of it, and then I am going to be doing some lots and lots and lots of prayer journaling on the back of this card. And so I don't really have much to share, in response to that. It's just, there's just so much heaviness. And so, I just want to keep it fairly simple today. So we're going to do these watercolor florals, create a card, and then I'll do some prayer journaling. So let me go ahead and put you guys on fast forward and we'll put together this FaithDex card. Okay, so I'm going to start with the florals. So I have a piece of Canson mixed media paper that I've cut down, and we're just going to plop color on here. You could use Neocolor 2 crayons, markers, distress inks. I mean, there are so many different mediums that you could do and get the same kind of effect, but I'm using my watercolors. These are a mix of Prima's and Daniel Smith's that I have in a separate tin. And towards the bottom of the page, I am using like pinks and purples. And then towards the top, I'm using blues and greens. So that way I'll have an area for leaves and an area for florals. I want things to kind of blend and mix, and I'm okay with some green flowers and pink leaves. So I just want to create a blobby mess. And so I did spray the paper a little bit with water first. That way things kind of blend and move. Mixed media paper is okay for watercolors. You just can't use, a ton of water. You have to be kind of careful. So here I'm just kind of mopping up some areas that got, super, super wet and we're blending too much. And with watercolors, it's helpful to layer. So I added that first layer, dried it, and then now I'm going back in and kind of intensifying the color and adding some texture and things like that. You'll notice that the florals I've already done in the top right-hand corner are slightly different in color, and that's just kind of the nature of this process. Those were a little more muted, so I used more water, less pigment, and got paler colored elements. But the more layers you do, the more intense the color is. So you just kind of have to decide what look you want. I'm going to dry that once again, and now we can get to heat embossing. So I'm going to put this panel in my stamp positioning tool just so I can stamp a whole bunch of these all at the same time and restamp if needed. The mixed media paper is textured, so sometimes it doesn't give you a crisp stamped image when you stamp the first time. But I've gone through all of my Creative Retreat stamps and just pulled out a ton of different ones that have florals and different leaves to mix with this month's stamp set. There is an add-on stamp set for this month that would give you some additional florals, so you could also grab that. You can see I'm laying the leaves in the green, the flowers in the pink, and I'm going to coat this with my powder tool because we're going to do some heat embossing. This just makes sure that the embossing powder only sticks to my stamped images. And then I'm going to ink these up with a clear sticky ink. I'm using Versamark. And this is what the embossing powder is going to grab a hold of. If you're not familiar with heat embossing, I will link a Tip Tuesday down below that gives you lots of tips and tricks and kind of explains it. I am going to stamp this a second time. And in fact, it wasn't enough. I kind of missed one flower, didn't get stamped on there good enough, but that's okay. I'm just trying to give myself a lot of different options for flowers to use. I'm going to coat this with some white embossing powder, and you can see it just grabs a hold of the areas where the stamped images are. And this is going to mimic the look of the florals in the kit, where it's the white outline on a colored background is kind of what I was going for. I'm going to make sure I save my excess embossing powder, and then we can heat this until it's completely melted and it creates kind of a plasticky texture. You could try stamping with white ink. That might give you a similar effect as well. So I fussy cut those out. There's a look at all the florals I have to work with. And now we're going to start working on the base of the FaithDex card. So I've pulled out some pattern paper from my stash. It's a pretty thick paper. I'm cutting it to 4 inches wide by 3 3/4 inches tall. And then rounding the corners, there are 2 pieces of that same sized paper. I'm going to actually create a pocket. I'm going to punch through this with my FaithDex punch. If these are still available, I will link it down below. There's also die sets and, all different ways to use the FaithDex system. If you're not familiar with what FaithDex is, I will link a Tip Tuesday down below, kind of showing details about that. But I'm going to adhere these two and create a pocket. So I'm only adding glue to the 2 sides and the bottom. I decided I'm going to have a lot more prayer journaling that needs to go in here than what I could cover on the back of this card. So with the pocket, I can just continuously stick little pieces of paper in there with prayers. And guys, there is just so much to pray over, right? We've got Afghanistan, we've got Haiti, we've got Australia, we've got all the political craziness, we have the pandemic, it's just non-stop right now. This kit could not have come at any more timely of a time to be focusing on turning our worry into worship. And so I don't know about you, but it can get super easy to just be glued to the news 24/7, trying to just see, everything that's going on. And there's so much going on. But I have to remind myself that that's just going to create more and more worry. I need to take time to be in the Word of God and pray over all of these things, and just, keep my focus on Christ, and that I'm going to get peace from that, a peace that surpasses all understanding, right? And so I'm using the stickers to kind of spell that out. I'm using a mix of the shape stickers and the alpha stickers. So this is going to say perfect peace, which transcends all understanding. And then I'm also going to be creating on the back of this card as well. So we're going to use up quite a bit of the stickers, but I'm going to adhere these florals and create a fun little cluster at the bottom. I don't know. There's something about keeping the artwork light and pretty and fresh when I'm doing a heavy topic. I don't know. That's just kind of how I do things. The prayers are definitely going to be some heavy prayers. There's just so much going on. But as I layer these up, I'm just, mixing and matching the different florals. Some of them I'm gluing directly down. Some of them I'm popping up with some foam dots just to create a cluster here at the bottom. If you don't do FaithDex, you could very easily take this idea and do it on a Bible journaling page, do it in a notebook, make a bunch of these florals all ahead of time, and then use them for several of your entries while you work through the kit. So you can always take these process videos and just use them as inspiration for how you create and just kind of adapt it to what you create in. But on the back here, I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom. I'm going to create a cluster with all those florals. But then at the top here, I was trying to utilize as many of the shape stickers as I could because I have a tendency not to use up all of the word-fetty stickers. So I was looking through the verse and decided to go ahead and add this to the back. It's going to say, guard your heart and mind. And I just want to remind myself to do that, to not fall into that pit of despair when you're looking at everything that's going on that could cause worry. We can't control it. God is in control. And so all I can do is, educate myself about it, but then turn to him and just pray, cry out to him, bring my prayers to his feet and just lay it all on him. And in return, gain peace, knowing that he is in control of it all. So I just wanted those big phrases to be reminders on the back and front of this card. I have a spinning memory deck system, and so you can see the fronts and backs of the cards on that system. So makes it so you can create on both the front and the back. But same thing back here. I'm just gluing some down using pop dots for others and just creating a big floral cluster at the bottom. Being mindful not to let it stick too far off the edges or cover up the holes that I have at the bottom for that system. So you could stop at this point. I did decide to use the tab that is on the sticker sheet. So I'm going to actually attach this to the back of one of those pattern swatches from the printables and then just cut that out. That way the stickiness is all covered up and I have pattern on the back side of the tab too, since I'll be able to see the front and the back. And I'm just going to stick this just on the inside of the card. You can see it is a pocket, so I can stick all of my little prayers in the pocket. So I'm just being careful about how I glue that so that it's not glued shut. I did have to fuss with it just a little bit to get it just right. But in the end, we get there. These cards can come together pretty quickly, or you can be super elaborate. This one took a little bit longer just with all the fussy cutting, but like I said, you could do all your cutting ahead of time and then have those florals ready to go throughout the month as you work through the kit. But here is a finished look at that card. Like I said, I'll be doing my prayer journaling off camera and just tucking it in there. But there's a look at the finished card. So if you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave those down in the comments. Check out the description box for links to everything that I used today. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. And until next time, thank you so much. Bye-bye.